Hello and welcome to my podcast, The Power of Audio, Science and AI, supported by Stockholm Music City. I am Jasmine Moradi, your host, and in each episode I'll take you backstage to meet with some of the top audio, science and AI personalities in the world. I will interview entrepreneurs, authors, business experts and thought leaders to learn how and why they're so passionate and determined about what they do. I will give you the knowledge and the insight your business needs to succeed with your audio branding.
Hello.
Hello! My guest today is my friend Thomas Lidy. We met in Athens 2018 when I was involved in the European Horizon 2020 research project FuturePulse through Soundtrack Your Brand. Thomas is from Vienna, Austria, and has been active in semantic audio analysis and AI-based music recognition since 2004. He has a Master of Science and has pursued a PhD in computer science from Vienna University of Technology, where he also started his research career focusing on music information retrieval. Previously, Thomas was the founder and CEO of the music discovery startup Spectralmind. Today, he is the Chief Innovation Officer at Musimap, a company combining human knowledge and AI to gain insight into music and music consumption. Together with his team of musicologists and data scientists, he has created an emotion-aware music AI that is able to analyze both music and people based on emotional signature in order to enhance music recommendation and enable completely new branding opportunities with a deep link to people's music preferences. Thomas is the creator and co-host of the successful Vienna Deep Learning Meetup. He has also co-organized AI Summit Vienna 2017 and has published over 40 publications in the field of music analysis and AI. In this episode, Thomas and I are going to discuss the ins and outs of emotional AI and music analysis and recommendation. With that, Thomas, I welcome you and thank you so much for joining us. Long time no see.
Yes, indeed. Long time no see. Thank you, Jasmine, and thank you for inviting me to your podcast series. It's a pleasure for me to be here with you. And yeah, let's talk about this topic.
Amazing. How are you feeling in times like this?
I'm actually pretty okay. Yeah. Well, it's a very interesting experience because I've been traveling a lot in the times before the COVID pandemic. Now, Musimap's team is entirely remote, distributed all over Europe in 3 different time zones. That's a new experience, well, partially new for me, because sometimes I have been working from home office. Now it's fully home office, but everyone among my colleagues and family and friends is healthy. So yeah, I'm getting through the pandemic well, and let's hope we're leaving this behind us soon and can get back to normal. But so far, Musimap is working very well in this remote setup, and we are progressing also very well.
I'm very happy to hear this. And you have a spectacular background and expertise in your field. So I'm interested to understand, looking back in the mirror, what was it in your motivational drive and curiosity as a boy that brought you to where you are today with music analysis and AI?
Yeah, it probably all started when I was a kid, around 12 years old, roughly, let's say, when I got my first computer. That was an Amiga 500. And soon after having that, I put aside the games and started to look into making music with the new computer, looking into audio software, audio programs, and yeah, creating and composing a few songs. I wasn't a great composer, but it was a lot of fun, and that sparked definitely my interest. I also learned a few instruments before and afterwards, but similar here, I was probably not meant to have a career as a musician, but later on, I pursued computer science and specialized on music analysis because here I could finally combine the interest of computers and music, and that was indeed very interesting. And then I pursued my master thesis and later on a PhD on that topic. And that was just perfectly combining an interest of the early age with computers and music into a research field that I could pursue, and even then create a company later on out of this.
Well, it's very interesting. It's a little bit like me. I also say, well, I do normally say I'm not a musician, but I've learned now that in a way we all are musicians in different ways. We have this love also for music, and then thanks to technology, we are able to expand it and scale it. You and me, we met during the FuturePulse project in Athens, actually. And FuturePulse is a European research project with the aim to build a tech product that looks into predicting future trends in music and identifying emerging artists and predicting the popularity of the songs. And now, after all these years, the FuturePulse platform is currently in beta stage, which is amazing, because I've been speaking to our friend, common friend, Daniel Johansson, and it's often that the Horizon 2020 projects don't really develop into a real functional project. So I'm interested, and our listeners are interested to understand, what is FuturePulse? How did it start? Who are the partners behind it? And who are the product for? And where are you going next now?
Okay, yeah, great. I mean, FuturePulse started in 2017. That's quite a while ago now. And indeed, it's not automatically granted that something that starts as a research idea emerges in an actual product and something that can be launched on the market. But here we did achieve this, and we're very proud of this. And yeah, let me tell you a bit more about FuturePulse. So that's a cross-European initiative. And what's the first thing that is really interesting about it is a very interesting blend of technical partners, research partners, and music industry partners. We got here the famous IRCAM Institute, Centre Pompidou in Paris, that does a lot of research in music analysis, and music production also. Then we have BMAT, Barcelona Music Audio Technology, that are famous for their radio monitoring. We have here CERT, is a department of the Institute of Technology in Greece that is pursuing a lot of research in online data analysis, social media analysis, but also trend metrics, trend predictions for artists, for example, for genres in the music. Then we have Musimap here, our company. Our core element is really semantic music analysis, where we extract information such as the styles, the genres, the tempo, beats per minute, the vocal gender, but last but not least, we do a lot of mood and emotional analysis. So we brought that into FuturePulse, but we also developed a new engine about track popularity prediction. So we measure how a track is performing immediately after the release on online platforms, streaming platforms, and online social media platforms, such as, in the streaming world, YouTube and Spotify and Deezer. We look also at the radio monitoring and try to get all these indicators and predict how this track is gonna perform in the near future, how it's gonna do right after the release. So that's a core topic of FuturePulse, but it's not the only one. So we built a platform in futurepulse.eu, which you can access and try at this moment already, where we index on a daily basis a large roster of artists and all their tracks and releases, and you can get up-to-date figures on how they're doing on these different platforms, how they're embedded in different countries, how they're doing compared to other artists in different countries, and then what genres are emerging, what artists are emerging. You can get a dashboard seeing all the metrics of those artists, and then you get these predictions. That's something, there's not many solutions for this out, where you not only gather all the figures on one centralized dashboard, but you get actually a prediction of the future, what's going to be happening next with the artist and the release. That's why it's called FuturePulse. The project has been developed for 3 years. We reached now, as you said, a beta stage, and we're looking on how to further commercialize this. And we're happy for everyone who wants to give this a test and help us through feedback to know how to further improve this.
And I've actually tested it myself. Who would you say is your clients that would benefit from this product?
Yeah, first of all, I forgot to mention, so I mentioned the technical partners, but then we have 3 use case partners in the project that are meant to be the prototypical and the first early adopters of this solution in the market. And we want to address 3 different domains, which we identified very early on in the beginning of the project as the use cases. So these, we call them the use case partners. And here we have Soundtrack Your Brand, which is a Spotify subsidiary, and you have been working there. Yeah, so this is a very interesting collaboration there, because Soundtrack Your Brand is responsible for playing out music in different stores. So it's an in-store music solution where you obviously need to adapt the music to the people, to the target groups of a certain date, a certain time of the day. And that can be very different scenarios, like a store where you buy clothes, or a restaurant chain where you want to have breakfast or lunch or dinner, fitness and hotels chains. They all have very different needs in terms of what music selection they need to do. So you need to specify like a certain energy of music, a certain era of music, a certain trendiness. This is all parameters that we can determine by this combination of the audio analytics that we do and the online analytics that we do of measures that we get for the songs. And then another use case partner that helps us a lot on getting this done to really fulfill the needs of music industry here is a label, and that is Playground Music, one of the biggest labels in Scandinavia. They have a couple of thousand artists, and we track all these artists and can provide early on the indicators of how their new releases are doing on the different platforms and how they will do by the predictive functionality that we have. And the third use case and use case partner here is Sonar, well known probably as a festival operator, festival organizer in Barcelona, in Spain. They are world famous. They do festivals not only in Barcelona, but in other cities and other countries that reach from Dubai to Argentina, I believe. And they are in need always to have the latest trends in different genres and different artists, like who are the emerging artists in this sector. They're mostly an electronic music festival, but also avant-garde. They want to represent avant-garde artists, and that is very difficult because nowadays with millions of artists emerging, and you have some trending on YouTube already, but how do you find the trending ones on YouTube? And we take care of measuring these early indicators that show us who are the interesting or likely to become interesting artists, and help the festival organizers also and live venues to identify the artists they could feature in the near term.
Very impressive. I must though say that I was blessed to be able and fortunate to be able to work with you guys and learn a lot from you, because you are the European expert in this area. But however, I must say that it's challenging for somebody like me that really don't understand the deep tech. What is exactly, if you could explain it as simple as possible for us, what is semantic audio analysis and music recommendation?
Yeah, so I mean, first of all, we want to make the usage of all these tools as simple as possible. So for FuturePulse, we built a very compelling UI. You log in, you get nice dashboards and everything. So we hide the deep and the complex technology behind it. Similarly at Musimap, where we have our portal, where you can upload any music you want, and you get it tagged with dozens of parameters, dozens of indicators that we determine in the music. So when we talk about semantic audio analysis, what does it mean? So first of all, I don't have a background in musicology, but we do work with musicologists in-house at Musimap. So we have the fresh and with a long-lasting experts. Our founder, Pierre Lebec, has more than 25 years experience in different fields in music psychology, but also selecting music for film and advertising as a music supervisor. And this knowledge helps to talk with the experts, to rely on how they annotate data, and we learn from the experts. We learn physically as a scientist, as a data scientist here. I didn't mention, but I'm the Chief Innovation Officer. You mentioned it, yeah. At Musimap, that means I'm responsible for the AI and data science but also how we train AI based on music experts' knowledge. And here we talk about semantic audio analysis. So what does it mean? We usually start with analyzing the signal in the music. So there's platforms out there which rely fully on just user interaction, like thumbs up, thumbs down, or how people react to playlists. That is very well working if you have millions of users and can gather a lot of data. But what if you don't have that? And we try to tackle this by directly analyzing the thing we're talking about here, that is music. So we're going down to the signal, reading that signal, and yeah, obviously the signal only tells you so much. So the art of a data scientist is to find out methods. What part of the signal do we analyze? How do we treat the signal? How do we read the tempo? The tempo, you can sometimes, like if you're an audio, if you are into audio editing, you see these waveforms, and you can see the rhythm, and you can see the big amplitude. You can see what's going on. If you do a spectrum analysis, that's usually the colorful interpretation of the frequencies of the music. As a human, as an expert in the audio field, you can see already a lot. So is there a lot of bass? Is there high notes in the music? So the art of the data science department here is to find algorithms, to find methods, to read that spectrum in a meaningful way. And we started out with this, but nowadays we train artificial intelligence, so AI doing that. Deep learning is a keyword here that is in many people's, that is shared a lot now in the media now. This is not just a buzzword, it's an actual technology that is there, it's there to stay. It's currently the state of the art of AI and analysis with AI. And we train such deep learning models on human knowledge, on the knowledge that our musicologists provide. And these types of neural networks, so deep learning or deep neural networks, they're a type of neural networks and part of AI sector. They can be trained with a vast amount of knowledge. And Musimap is one of the few companies that has really a vast amount of these annotations, like descriptions of music. Like, how do you imagine that? So we have our musicologists, they sit down, listen to a track and describe it in every detail they can. They tell us the tempo, what key it is, but also typically in a song, we annotate 20 moods, 6 different genres with intensities. So we know that the song is mostly pop, but partially also soul and R&B. And we know all these different nuances in the music, and that's what makes a difference, because you can train an AI with a few hundred examples just with a genre, but then it will learn only so much. But with that vast database we have of these annotations, we can do a lot with the AI, and we managed that is actually recognizing emotions. And when we say music recognition, we detect all of these concepts in the music. Semantic music analysis means we extract meaning out of it. And the meaning, we know the styles, the moods and emotions, we know the tempo and so on. So this is the goal here, and we achieved that goal. And yeah, we can talk later what we made out of this.
So how did then the adventure of Musimap start, and how did you, were you able to nail this impressive position based on your background and being the CEO and previous founder of the music discovery startup Spectralmind?
Okay, so we took this university research and created Spectralmind, a startup company out of Vienna. And yeah, that was an exciting journey. We built a new audio similarity engine back then in 2008, 2009, and confronted the market with it. We figured out it was a bit too early, so people were still busy with managing all the traditional metadata, getting the album cover and the album title and artist title right. So we were kind of confusing them with what's this new technology that can suddenly extract genres and tempo and all these things automatically and build an acoustic similarity search. That was new to the market, so we had to reshape it a bit and pack it into a fancy interface. We also, like, at that time, we learned a lot how important UI, UX is, so the user experience at the end of the day, and created compelling web interfaces. And when the iPad was launched in 2010, we had directly jumped also on the iPad and pivoted to a B2B to C model, where we created also a compelling app for discovering music by the consumers, by the app users in the first year of the iPad. So that was pretty amazing. That sparked also interest of the big companies. All those guys that provide smartphones and tablets, and we talked about an in-car solution and so on. But we still had to refine the product a lot. And yeah, it was a long ride, but my first startup here, Spectralmind, didn't make it, and we had to close down in 2012, 2013 actually, after 5 years, which was a very exciting ride with a lot of learnings. And I do not want to miss the startup life. And I went back to university to continue the research for 2 years, and was part then of a project called Music Bricks. That was also run by Michaela Magash, if you know her, who created also the Music Tech Fest. So that was an interesting journey, because now I had a role which was bridging research with the startup world and the industry world. And that was the perfect role for me at that time, because I had learned and seen both worlds, university research, academic research, and then what you need as a startup, that you don't need necessarily the best technology up to 100%, but you need to build a compelling product that sparks people's interest and is usable. So all these factors we didn't count in the beginning. And that learning was very wealthy here. Music Bricks was kind of gathering technological bricks, as the name says, in the music domain, and packaging them in a way they would be very useful for startups or companies in the music industry. And we did hackathons along this Music Tech Fest for people to spark new ideas, very creative people. We had a lot of people that had design background and music background. It wasn't so much important that they had a technological background, because the technological bricks were brought in by the universities who were participating in that project. The fun part was that there were a lot of creative ideas, like someone mounted audio recording device underneath a skateboard to create soundscapes and create visuals out of this while riding the skateboard. And or things that determine how you play the guitar, and adapts an AI that adapts and suggests your rhythm, or suggests you new stuff to play based on your flow that you have while playing. And there was a lot of creative ideas. Some of them were pursued into startups, and we provided the tech and the advice for this. So this project lasted 18 months, and then that was a very nice achievement. And towards the end of the project, at one of these Music Tech Fest events, I met Musimap, and that was the exciting part here. So that was a key moment, because we sat together at dinner, and after talking for a while, it was very clear that I would be super eager to join a company like Musimap, and Musimap would be super eager and in need of a guy like me that had some background in semantic audio analysis and using machine learning to analyze music, and that's exactly what they needed at the time. So I was there at the right time, and also my project ended, so it was an obvious choice to join Musimap at the time. That was late 2015, early 2016 when we got together as a team.
And what is the Musimap? Tell us about them and their story, how they started out.
So Musimap had already a history before that. The founder of the company is Pierre Lebec. As I mentioned, he's a long-term musicologist, music psychologist, and also worked in film industry, created soundtracks for movies. And he was also working together with Olivier. And they annotated a lot of music over a time span of 15 years. So Musimap is now around for 5 years, 15 years earlier. So in total about 20 years, they have been describing music, and they had a big team that helped them. So it was kind of a research project where they gathered more and more people that helped describing the world's music catalog. They reached more than 1 million songs, but because they were so motivated by doing this manually, because they didn't know about AI when they started this. They wanted to do this manually and map out the music's world. That's why the company is named Musimap, because they literally wanted to create a map of music where you can imagine it like Google Maps. You have a landscape, you have a map where there's different areas for different genres, and then the more you zoom in, you see the key artists that created, that are the ambassadors of those genres. And the more you zoom in, you get to the latest fresh new artists, the latest fresh new releases, and then you diverge and go in another path and dive into other genres. And then later on, there's an area where there are new genres and new artists emerging. And so they saw this as a global map of music, and that's still the spirit and the DNA of Musimap. In 5 years ago, the company was recreated. Also, Frederic Notte was on board already in the predecessor project as the CTO, who took care about all the technical parts, like managing the wealth of data, putting it correctly in a database that made connections between the artists and the albums, etc. And then, yeah, the company was launched. They were looking for how to bring this to the next level. The answer was already on the table. This needed AI. This needed some machine learning input, artificial intelligence to bring this to the next level. And I was the guy who brought that in. I had that experience and knowledge already because I was starting my research 2004 and then my company 2008. So then, yeah, about 8 years later, I had a lot of knowledge there that would fit perfectly to Musimap.
Wow. And part of your job, everyday job, is to analyze emotion, moods, and styles from the global catalog of music, as you mentioned. And you have so far, as I've read, detected emotions in 35 million tracks. And it is said that every day there's like 20,000 tracks created, and your goal is to reach to all the track on the earth. That is, right now I think it's 70 million plus. And I've also read that your company's goal is to become the ultimate music assistant, to solve the problem for the listeners, to navigate through all these million tracks, to understand their taste, their personality, and their mindset in social context, to be able to offer them the best music recommendation. And I've read research that says that when you're listening to the music you love, your brain brings out all this emotional dopamine and happiness in you. So that is super important then for the listeners. From the lens of AI, how have you and your team built this ultimate music assistant, decoded the DNA of music? And please then walk us through your products that is called Music Match, MusiMotion, and MusiMe.
Yeah, with pleasure. Yeah. So first of all, yeah, this is not an easy journey. So on the one hand, I mentioned already, you might have services that learn a lot from user interaction, but we don't have that. We aim to analyze music as it is, and we start out independent of users. But obviously, as you said, there is the mood in music, but music triggers emotion in the human, in the people. That's what's the beauty of music at the end. And these correlations are very interesting. And they might be different per each person, because some people relate to happy, mellow pop music a lot, but some people just hate it. And they enjoy the most if they listen to very dark, heavy metal music, and that gives them pleasure and joy. And similarly, when you're sad, some people want to have sad music because they are in that mood and that they need that. And some other people want happy music in that moment to cheer them up. And this is all different per each individual, for each person. So that is a challenge, but we looked into that. So our aim here is not directly to map out the people's emotion from the music directly, but to analyze in the first step moods in the music. So we created a taxonomy that we think is a good taxonomy that can be used uniquely to describe moods in music. We are always striving on refining that. There's also a question of how you make this universally, globally applicable. So we believe the annotations we have done to the music that helps the AI learn that is objectifiable, and we can extract the moods from the music no matter in which country you are, which cultural background you have, because that's the next step. Whatever you put as a label on the moods, whether it's in English, something that's called romantic or melodramatic, that word can change in different languages, but it's still what we detect with the AI is still the mood that we want to represent by this. And even if we translate that word differently in different countries, okay, there might be nuances in the interpretation of the words, but our first step is to gather those moods in an objectified way. And there we have been working a lot in this teamwork with our musicologists and data science, and building that AI that can manage that. And then we get to the next step. Now it's about, okay, what do users do? So our new product, MusiMe, I'll talk about the other products later, but the MusiMe here, we are analyzing the playlist or the listening history of the people. So if I know what people usually listen to, and then I analyze the last 5 songs you listen to, I can gather those moods in the music that are kind of more objectified, but I can map it out and put it in the context of your current listening situation. So given that you listen to these 5 songs, I might deduct that you are right now in a more, that you might be working because you need something fast paced or something that inspires you, or that you might be doing sports, or that you might be in a happy mood or in a sad mood. That's simplified, but we have shown that by just analyzing a couple of tracks, we can deduct in what emotional state you are. We're not claiming that we know everything about you. Obviously, for that we would need to do some body sensing and things like that. That's we can talk about this in the future. We have been exploring this in hackathons, but it's not what we're doing today. Right now, we try to relate the moods we analyze from music to the emotions that are attached to the people at the moment they listen, versus the long-term listening history of the users, which we call the personality profile. So if we talk about, let's say, I analyze your 3 years of Spotify listening history by what we can detect in the music, we get a very good idea who you are. I can show later the demo. You Are What You Listen To is a demo we created that gives a very interesting description of you as a person. And this is what we are aiming for. This is the latest product, MusiMe, that describes the me, the person. The earlier products we created are MusiMatch. MusiMatch is an sound-alike sound similarity system that is meant more for professionals in film and advertising. We usually cater this product to people in production music, offering production music libraries. So libraries where you usually don't know the artists very well and you don't know the music very well. So you're very much in need of new search possibilities. And we offer that by allowing you to give an example. You can even enter a popular track or any track you want, and it brings up similar alternatives in acousticness. So similar acoustic songs that are similar in acoustics. And you can refine that search result by different categories as you want, like tempo, BPM, and genres and moods. And MusiMotion, we derived this from the emotion. And MusiMotion is about tagging. So here we work with Warner Music, for example, who were very eager to adopt that product to label the entire Warner Music catalog as it is there today. And we have done that. And MusiMotion, this is where all of our deep learning based AI models come in. We trained different AI models for detecting genres and styles, another one for moods, another one for rhythmic moods. We also detect the tempo and these acoustic attributes like key and tonality. And we also capable of detecting whether a song is instrumental or vocal, or whether it has a very high-pitched voice, low-pitched voice, which usually is attached to male or female voices that some of our customers are interested to. So MusiMotion is a tagging and labeling product that can be used both as in addition to MusiMatch as a filter, and it enriches also what we can do in MusiMe for the mood detection.
Then I'm interested to understand something then. Everybody's talking about machines can't become emotional, right? That makes us different between the humans and the machines. But you guys talking about creating a humanized algorithm to teach the machine about human emotions. Is this possible? If so, how? Because I saw a conference, the California Music Tech conference that you were in 2018, and you talked about human-fused AI and working with feedback loops. Explain about that.
Yeah, that's the interesting part. So we talk about humanized AI because we don't believe you can just say you train a AI on data. Obviously, I have a data science background. Okay, there's also this term called data is the new oil. Data is everything, and you just feed enough data to an AI, and you get your AI of your dreams out of it. I don't fully believe in this. I believe there's a lot of human steps in this. Even on data science side, we need to take care a lot about how do we do this. We facing the challenge, for example, in Musimap, that it's not that a song has just 10 emotions and that's it, and all of them are equal. And it's the same with genres. If you ask 10 people of which genre that song is, you get probably 7 different answers. And some people say, yeah, it's pop music, and others say, no, but this is soul. And with there's also a spark of jazz in there, and so on. We try to tackle this. So when we say humanized, because we see this is the level of humans. This is how humans would describe music, annotate music, feel music, and perceive music. And this is in the very DNA of Musimap, that we, since the beginning, worked with people who have a strong background in music, who are musicologists, and help us build this AI and through data analysis. So I do not like to reduce this to data analytics. It's indeed, we are working with music. That's actually one beautiful part of this job, is that we work with music, we work with people who describe music. And when we say humanized algorithm, that means we cannot just train an AI and that's it done. So we typically have a lot of loops where we say, okay, now let's give it back to the people who know the most about music, to the music experts again, and see how they would judge the AI's output. And there's a lot of iteration here already where they say, okay, here's a nuance that the AI didn't get exactly right, so let's refine it a bit. And we are constantly doing this, and it takes us usually months to get out a new version of the product, because we're taking so much care of these fine-grained nuances, which is human at the end of the day. It's not something you say, okay, this is a technology, you put it out there, it's there, and it does the job till the rest of our days. It is a refinement process with humans. When we talk about feedback loop, we want to give this possibility also to our customers. So when we bring out our product and somebody licenses it and gets all these results of our analysis, like the moods and genres and so on, they can give us feedback and tell us back, hey, I don't know, 100% agree with this genre. Maybe this song is pop, but I don't agree it's alternative rock. And this feedback is coming back to us, and in the next feedback loop, it's also updating the AI in learning over time that these fine-grained nuances. It's not an automated process at this time, so we can't think of we don't want the system right now that anyone shoots at it and tells us, hey, no, I don't agree to this and I don't agree to that, and it's updating itself, because then it's probably getting crazy, like some of these social Twitter experiments with chatbots that got crazy. We don't want that. We want to have this humanized aspect. We want to build an AI that understands emotion, but we're gonna go step by step. And we want to receive that feedback of the customers, but also work as closely as possible with people in music, with music background, to refine that AI. So we're tapping into this, somebody coined the term Internet of Emotions. Yeah, I don't want to philosophize about this to a large extent, but we do say that we built an emotion-aware AI because we took so many steps to refine it with the human input.
So when I was working at Soundtrack around at FuturePulse, I did a testing where you could take the different adjectives and genres and emotions and throw it out to 1,000 respondents, and then you can get an indication, because there is a challenge about subjectivity and objectivity, right? But I do believe if you ask a big group, then you can get an indication around what this music sounds like, or how you perceive the emotions. Is that what you're doing, or is that something that you will be interested in doing to get closer to being more objective?
Very good point. Yeah. So right now we're trying to get to this objectiveness by having multiple annotators on a song and then comparing. Obviously, could be very interesting, asking, 100 people, well, 1,000 people, 100 people, 1,000 people. But for the same song with the scale that we have, where we want to get thousands and millions of songs, this is a lot of effort. There has been a lot of effort done. So right now we're looking into what quality do we get out there and how we can improve this. But definitely in either way, whether you ask music experts or the bigger crowd of these attributes in music, you will get a broader range of feedback. Not everyone agrees on the same genre to the same extent, but that is a good thing. We embrace that because from the start, we never believed to put one tag on one song. We always annotated at least 3 to 6 genres with percentages, like how strong we believe is this genre, and the next one and the next one. So by default, a song is never in one drawer. It is attached to multiple labels. It's still a genre label. It's something that the human made up. It's still not fully objective, but at least we try to get a coherent taxonomy of genres and moods where you can attach a song to multiple of those without the necessity in saying, you are in this box and you are in this box. We wanted to avoid that from the beginning. And the more feedback we get for a single song, yeah, that's correct, the more they might diverge. There's obviously an agreement. There has been measured an agreement between music experts, about 85% they agree. That's a reasonable value. And that's something that was our first aim when we built the first version of the engine, to get there as well, where we would output something that 85% of people would agree. And then we have these little nuances where you have smaller genres that appear like with an intensity of 30% or so. Yeah, that's how we want to overcome this. Yeah.
You put a lot of effort in this, and music is a complex language. And me knowing it, that you're not the only one trying to solve this, like decoding DNA of music, then if everybody's sitting in their like offices trying to figure out their own lexicology, but what if we put like then who is accurate, right? Who does it correctly? Could it be that you all guys go together and try to create like a universal lexicology for decoding DNA for music?
And universal lexicology on the one might be desirable. It depends also like on the big companies that have these big catalogs, such as all the streaming companies, Apple Music, Tidal, and so on. On the other hand, the small labels like to have their own taxonomies because they want to diversify the artists and give them a different attribution, and the artists themselves obviously too. So we try to accommodate both worlds. So we suggest a taxonomy that we created. We do have mappings. We do have synonyms. So we can actually translate between taxonomies. There has been effort. I think also Deezer is looking into this, how to translate one taxonomy into another. That could be done for genres, also for moods. There is recent research output on how to do that. That can be done both with semantic word interpretation, mapping different terms in different languages to other terms. That's something we have been doing also with the synonyms we provide to all the genres and moods that we have. Our database knows about 4,000 synonyms. So whenever you search in our database, although we provide like 70 genres and 60 moods, you can search by these 4,000 terms to find something. That is also helpful, like if you think of up and coming use cases, let's say voice activation in smart homes and smart devices. If you tell your personal assistant, hey, play me music that is melancholic, and then someone else uses another word just for meaning about the same, we're capable of doing that because we have these 4,000 synonyms already. And then, yeah, we could look deeper into the mapping of the taxonomy. This is not our direct mission. That is more the kind of the people who are creating these streaming platforms who need to know how important a genre classification is for them. What we do know, though, is that there is standards such as the DDEX standard that is meant to define an exchange format of how metadata around music is exchanged. That's starting from album, artist, and title to album cover, and so on. And those tags that we, for example, provide, like our MusiMotion product provides tagging, extra tags. We call this additional semantic tags, like genres, music, tempo, BPM, key, and mode, and so on. We try to accommodate this in the DDEX standard. There was recently a meeting about this, speaking both about taxonomies and also how to accommodate that one song is not attached to a single genre, but multiple ones, and there might be even a percentage level or like a distribution, like main genre is this one, secondary genre is this one, tertiary genre is this one. And all of this is currently being discussed in these standards like DDEC. So this is our mood taxonomy. It starts with 6 mood families. They are called air, water, fire, and so on. But the 6 elements here, that is not super important. That is just the inspiration where this came from, with postures that are attached to traditional Chinese systems. But then on the next level, we have 18 so-called subfamilies that are called happiness, extroversion. Then we have good vibrations, roots, warrior, playfulness, nourishment, love, withdrawal, and so on. And they are further subdivided then. So we have here on the outer level 256 different moods that we can characterize. And our AI training database has been annotated to that level. Right now, we have trained our AI only for about 60 moods that it can predict and annotate. That's what you get in the product. But this mood taxonomy, this is the full mood taxonomy that we are aware of. It knows about 256 different attributes. And there are even more synonyms, as I mentioned earlier. So in the end, you can search by techy or unconventional or extravagant or flashy, reckless, and things like this. What we do now is, something like extroversion, happiness, and so on. So this is the detail of moods that we are able to capture of the music.
And what if can a person go in and like a little bit write the same way that you look for stuff in Google? Like, do Google search for music? Like, say I want a happy song for when you're walking on the beach.
Yeah, so we do have around the product MusiMotion, we have something that is called the advanced search engine, where you can combine all of this. You can say, give me, I forgot to mention that we also annotate situations. So happy music on the beach, faster than 120 BPM, and a little bit of romanticism. And it has to be one out of these 3 genres. That is a query you can do, We provide mostly APIs to our customers, so they usually build the front end and the search engines. What I did is I searched a song on YouTube, Coldplay Clocks, and then it's just popping up there as you're used to it from YouTube. And then I go into the browser and browser's web address and copy the URL and go and switch to our interface. Here it's called This Is What You Listen To, but it's essentially an interface to MusiMotion. And I can either upload a song, I can find a song that we pre-analyzed in our song database, or I paste simply a web link here, and I'm entering here this track from YouTube and click Analyze. You will see within seconds it's analyzing that track, and I can use any track on YouTube, and it's bringing back the results. So this is Coldplay Clocks, the official video, and we see here it detected the key is a G flat, G sharp minor, BPM 131 BPM. It's not an instrumental song. It's a male voice. We have about 35% rhythm present, so it's not that intense of a rhythm perspective, but we get 83% of spectral energy. The song is composed of the genres rock, pop rock, indie rock, electropop, pop, and it apparently also detected a little bit of folk here. And then in terms of moods, we get moods such as sentimental, friendly, sensibility, refined, soothing, good vibrations, innocent, melodramatic, determined, and meditative. You get the percentage, and you get an interpretation here also of what these moods mean. If we scroll further down, we have the rhythmic moods. There are only 5 possible rhythmic moods to tell you whether it's more a quiet or more a staccato song, a more flowing song. This one is something in between. And here we got the situations detected. So this Coldplay song is good for Sunday morning, Also, if you're alone and reflective, but at the same time, it can be used for candlelight dinner, for example. I guess you get the idea.
That was what I was looking for, yeah.
Yeah, so and then later on, I don't have this demo up and running here now. You could reverse this and search. So they say, give me all the songs that are meant for a situation where I'm alone and reflective, but has still good vibrations, is soothing, and is out of electropop. That query can do, and it brings up all the songs that match that.
Wow. And then I tried the other one that was like, it was going to choose, you choose the playlist that you've created on Spotify, and then it tells you about something about you. And I must say, it got me correctly, because I'm an NTG. And it actually did say I'm an NTG, which few people are. There's only like 1% in women in the world that is NTG, and he got it right.
Wow. Well, let's give the listeners and viewers an idea of what this is about. So here we're talking about what I mentioned as MusiMe, which interprets the person based on their listening history and listening patterns. Yeah. So we claim you are what you listen to. This is our compelling demo, and obviously it convinced Jasmine as it convinced many others before. Let's see here. I connect with Spotify usually. I need to get and select one out of my playlist of Spotify. And a good choice is obviously a longer playlist that characterizes you well. For example, here, my top playlist 2019 that Spotify created automatically for me. So I'm going to select this one. And here's what this playlist tells about me in this case. We should have done your playlist because you were so excited about it. So let's start here with another tab. So first of all, we see again what it analyzed here. What we saw for a single song before is here the breakdown of the music I was listening to in the year 2019. So I have a breakdown of all the moods that appear in that music and the genres. It's a mix, somehow EDM, techno, pop, dancehall, house, chill out, and so on. And then you see this reflected in the moods. And we feed this into the engine that analyze all the music that we've been listening to, and tries to map it also on personality traits. One thing here is the so-called big five that are called openness, consciousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism, where I get different bars here, more in consciousness and agreeableness than on extroversion, openness, and neuroticism. We have something that's called the Enneagram, where you're classified into one or more out of 9 archetypes. So here, mostly a number 5, a type 5 investigator, but I'm also partially a challenger and a perfectionist. Okay, interesting.
I would say yes to that.
Yeah, you would say correct. Okay, you know me. Partially, I would say. Okay. And then we got the famous Myers-Briggs type indicator. It's used a lot in marketing, also partially in other circumstances. And this is usually a 4x4 grid where you like 4 different attributes are characterized, and the strengths of those extrovert, introvert, and different opposites. And then you're 1 or 2, or sometimes in rare cases 4 out of these squares are highlighted for you. And in my case, I'm an ESTP, I'm a doer and promoter, according to this. And secondary is supervisor and a guardian. And this is what you get there. If you're interested, you can read more about this. What are your strengths and weaknesses in this profile? And then you tell us ideally whether you agree with this or not.
I agree.
You agree, right? And there's many people who told us this. So we went to trade shows. We go every year to South by Southwest in Austin in Texas. It's very exciting. And we showed this there and had people trying it with their music. And there was even a person like listening exclusively to dark heavy metal music. And I was really nervous when the person did the demo, but the outcome was, yeah, it interpreted him perfectly. He was happy with it.
What is like the future looking like?
So far, we have been catering very well the music industry. We're covering different use cases such as film and advertising, and for example, the music supervisors that find music by acoustic examples. We cater to the labels by describing their music to an extent that they have never known, like with many musical and acoustic attributes and these emotional patterns. So with this tool that I've just shown to you, we provide it right now as a fun demo for everyone to try, but we want to enter new markets. We want to go into sound branding. We can help companies like Soundtrack Your Brand, for example, for the in-store music to select it by target group. Like this Myers-Briggs type indicator is about different, it's about market research and different people's personalities, people's target, it's about target groups. Yeah, so you could go and define like, hey, here I have this store. Here's my target group. In the morning, I want to target to these people. In the afternoon, I have more customers from this customer domain. Can you provide the music? And before you had to define all these attributes, now we want to make this easier. You can even either define the target group directly by this profile, like the MBTI or the Enneagram, or we allow you to enter like product and brand attributes, and you find the music and the people for it. And with this, we want to enter this advertising and e-commerce space, which could start with sound branding, but we also want to go to cater to the advertisers directly when they need music for a campaign, for a spot. We assist here the music supervisor, but it could be used also as a sync tool where you find the appropriate music for a video. And then further down the road, this could open up realms in e-commerce where we say, okay, now we analyzed people's playlist. We know the personality, like this person is more a thinker, this person is more a doer. What other products can we recommend that person? This sparks a lot of interest from the advertising industry. And this is something definitely we want to look at. And if you think it even further, you could enter the dating domain. Because if I know I'm a thinker, doer, you are someone who's close to that, and there's someone else that is not close to that, who is more compatible. We could make that. That's something we put out as an idea there. Maybe we explore this on another hackathon. For now, we don't build a new dating portal, but we definitely want to pursue further this personality estimation based on music, and then take it from there into different new spaces like advertising, e-commerce, or sound branding.
Wow, I'm very, very impressed. Thank you very much, Thomas. And I will link everything on my website and let people try it. Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah, it was a real pleasure to be with you today. Yeah, thanks a lot for being such a great host.
Well, that's all for today's episode of The Power of Audio, Science and AI. I'm Jasmine Maradi, your host, and thank you very much for listening. If you like this podcast and want to follow my journey towards discovering the secrets behind the power of audio, science and AI, then make sure to never miss an episode by subscribing on my website jasminemaradi.com, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes and Google Play. I'm working towards increasing the value of music so that artists receive the fair share of the economic value they create in our society. So make sure to spread the word to your fellow brand leaders and business network through your social media. Stay tuned for my next episode where I will speak to Martin Willers, the co-founder of the Swedish speaker brand Transparent Sound. We're going to talk about the ultimate sound experience, sustainable design and lighting. This episode is supported by Stockholm Music City, recorded in the booth at the co-working space The Park in Stockholm, and music by Skirk.